It was our engagement dinner. Candlelight sparkled on the glasses, and the scent of buttered sea bass filled the air. Soft jazz played, making everything feel so grand. I wore a dress that hugged me just right, and for a moment, I almost felt like I belonged there. Then his mother rose to give a toast. She tapped her champagne glass with a gentle clink and began. "To my dear son," she said, smiling in a way that made my stomach twist, "and his bride-to-be. We always knew he'd choose someone with a colorful past. Sometimes women need a little more time to settle, especially if they've, well, strained their bodies in certain places." She paused, letting that sink in. A few polite laughs rippled across the tables, but her tone changed. "Of course," she went on in a pitying voice, "we must show understanding. It can't be easy, when you can't have children anymore. But I'm sure that won't matter now." Another sweet smile. My heart thudded, and I caught my fiancé's eyes. He looked stoned but didn't say a word to defend me. People exchanged uneasy looks. My mom frowned, squeezing my hand under the table. I stood there, heat flooding my ears, heart pounding. I wanted to shout the truth, but I couldn't ruin my own party. She had blindsided me so perfectly. At that moment, I felt a deep anger. I realized this wasn't just rude, it was a plan to shame me. I excused myself, fleeing to the restroom, tears burning my eyes. The moment I locked the door, I inhaled and exhaled. She wants war? Fine, I'll remember this. And in that instant, I vowed to get even. By the next day, the damage was done. Messages poured in. "Are you okay? I didn't know you had fertility problems." Some were gentle, others were just nosy. Her lie spread fast, like she'd rehearsed it. Friends treated me like something fragile, and strangers whispered about my condition. I confronted my fiancé in our living room. "Why didn't you stop her?" I demanded. He sighed, rubbing his forehead. "My mom's old school. She speaks her mind." My hands shook with frustration. "She lied, and you acted like it was nothing." He glanced away. "Let's not make this bigger than it is." But it was already huge. My mom called, furious. "I've never heard such nonsense," she said. "You need to put her in her place." I told her I would, but carefully. In bed that night, I stared at the dark ceiling, my heart thudding. I realized my fiancé's silence was a betrayal too. I swore I'd protect myself. She wanted me to look weak. She'd regret turning our engagement into her twisted game. Days later, we had a small family brunch. My mother-in-law arrived with a tall, elegant woman named Camille. She introduced Camille as basically a daughter to me, throwing a pointed look my way. My fiancé tensed but didn't object. Camille gave me a practiced smile. "I've known him forever," she said, her tone bright. "We grew up together." All through brunch, my mother-in-law kept praising Camille's poise and upbringing, comparing her to me in subtle jabs. "Camille is from such a respected family," she'd say. "You can trust her judgment." I forced a polite grin, feeling trapped by forced niceties. My own mom, seated beside me, noticed the digs. She fumed quietly, but I squeezed her hand, signaling her to wait. By dessert, the tension was thick. I saw Camille glance at my fiancé with familiarity that bothered me. His mother clearly wanted Camille in the picture, maybe even in my place. I left that brunch knowing one thing. My mother-in-law had a backup bride in mind. This was more than an insult, it was a threat to my entire future. At home, I finally let loose. "You see what she's doing, right?" I said to my fiancé. "She's parading Camille around like a trophy." He shrugged, fiddling with his phone. "Mom likes Camille, okay? It's not a big deal." I stood there, heart pounding. "She's telling everyone I can't have kids. She's inviting this other woman to family events. How is that not a big deal?" He frowned. "You're blowing things out of proportion. Mom's just protective." His words stung. I felt so alone, even with him right in front of me. I went outside to call my mom. Her voice shook with anger. "Honey, he's in denial. You need a plan." "Plan for what?" I whispered. "I still love him." She sighed. "But does he care how his mother's hurting you?" I had no answer. I returned inside, each step heavy. My fiancé glanced up but said nothing. That night, I didn't sleep well. I kept replaying the lies, the smirks, the jabs. If he wouldn't protect me, I'd have to protect myself. And I would. A cousin I barely knew sent me a cryptic message. "I thought you should see this," she wrote, attaching screenshots. It was a private group chat called Family Circle, including my fiancé, his mother, aunts, uncles, and Camille. They joked about me wasting his time, calling me barren, praising Camille for being the better choice. My fiancé only responded with emojis or stayed silent. Not once did he defend me. My stomach twisted. I scrolled further, growing nauseous. At least Camille can keep the family going, someone wrote. My mother-in-law replied with a heart emoji. I forwarded the images to my mom, tears of anger in my eyes. They're all in on it, I whispered, voice shaking. I confronted him that night. He shrugged, said the group chat was harmless. My jaw dropped. It's full of lies. They're humiliating me. He mumbled, I can't control what they say. Stop making drama. That was the final straw. I might still love him, but I saw no love returned. My mother-in-law's poison ran deeper than I ever guessed, and he let it happen. My mother-in-law insisted on hosting my bridal shower. I thought maybe it was a peace offering. It wasn't. The theme was indulgence, spa kits, wine, and pastel decor. It seemed fine until guests started handing me gifts that hinted at a child-free life. Dog mom t-shirts, pampering products, herbal teas for stress. I felt my cheeks heat, but I kept calm. My mom stood by me, glaring at each snide remark. Camille arrived fashionably late, carrying a fancy gift bag. She said, for when you need alone time, handing me a robe embroidered with the phrase, no kids, no problem. Some guests giggled. I swallowed back a retort. My mother offered a tight smile and quickly steered me to another corner. Don't let them see you crack, she murmured. Afterward, I found my mother-in-law in the kitchen. Why are you doing this? I whispered. She shrugged, eyes cold. Maybe I'm saving my son from heartache. My mom caught the tail end of that remark. She's your son's choice, she snapped. You don't get to rewrite her life. I left the party with my mother, tears stinging. Let them laugh now. I had ideas brewing. Back home, I was cleaning gift bags when my mother-in-law rang the bell, uninvited. She strolled in like she owned the place, ignoring my mom's presence. We need to talk, she said coolly. You're clinging to him, but everyone knows you can't provide a real legacy. My jaw tightened. That's a lie, and you know it. She laughed softly. Believe what you want. Soon he'll see the truth. Camille is more suitable. I stepped forward, trying not to shake. No wonder your family's so hostile. You feed them nonsense. Her smile vanished. Then prove me wrong, she sneered, or leave quietly. My mom stepped in from the hallway. She won't be bullied. Get out of this house, she said, voice calm but fierce. My mother-in-law paused, scanning my mom's determined face, then turned to leave. You'll regret challenging me, she threw over her shoulder. When the door shut, I let out a shaky breath. My mom put a comforting arm around me, but deep inside I had a new wave of anger. She would regret underestimating me. That evening, my mom sat me down at her kitchen table. We're collecting evidence, she announced. Texts, group chat messages, voice notes, everything. I blinked. Evidence? For what? She gave me a steady look. If they won't stop lying, we can take legal steps, or at least scare them into silence. My heart pounded. Sue his mother? I asked, stunned. She squeezed my hand. Defamation is real. She's harming your reputation with clear, false statements. It's not petty to protect yourself. Part of me felt guilty, but then I recalled the humiliation at the shower and the vile group chat. She was smearing me everywhere. I agreed. We spent hours printing screenshots, labeling them by date, writing notes. My mom's calm efficiency steadied my nerves. By midnight, we had a thick folder. Keep this safe, she said. We'll add more if needed. I exhaled, feeling both scared and empowered. I wasn't one to jump to lawsuits, but my mother-in-law's cruelty left me no choice. Revenge wasn't always about shouting. Sometimes it was about building a quiet, airtight case. My fiancé's calls became shorter, colder. When I brought up his mother's lies, he'd brush them off. Don't drag me into your fights, he muttered. I asked, why won't you defend me just once? He sighed. She has her views. I can't change her mind. Inside, my resentment grew. If I stayed, my mother-in-law would rule our marriage with her false stories, and he'd let her. My mom watched me pace around her living room, tears of frustration on my cheeks. Honey, it's okay to walk away, she said gently. But I wasn't ready to give up yet. I wanted accountability, not just escape. Meanwhile, I added new screenshots to my growing evidence folder. More texts from relatives mocking me, more group chat insults. The more they piled up, the angrier I became. Late one night, I read over them again, feeling my stomach twist. They think they're untouchable. I held the folder to my chest. They're not. I was ready to fight on my terms, even if it meant breaking all ties with the man I once adored. One afternoon, I ran into Camille at a nearby coffee shop. She looked me up and down with a smirk. "Surprised you're still in town," she said. "I heard you and your fiancé are on the rocks." My heart pounded, but I kept my voice even. "We're figuring things out." She flicked her hair. "He's a catch, you know? Maybe his mother just wants to protect him from disappointment." I felt a flash of fury. "Funny, because he's the one who can't stand up for himself," I said calmly. Her smile tightened. "His family's on my side. They know your limitations," she said. "I guess we'll see who he really chooses." I breathed slowly. She was so sure. She didn't realize I had truth in my corner and a lawsuit threat ready. I just nodded. "Yes, we'll see." She left, her high heels clicking confidently on the sidewalk. I stood still, sipping my latte, my mind racing. "If you only knew what I'm planning." I went home and added her arrogant quotes to my notes. Let her keep bragging. Soon it would all fall apart around her and around my mother-in-law. That night, a ping startled me. It was from his cousin Lily, a quiet girl I'd met only once. "I can't keep watching this," she wrote. "Aunt ML did something similar to my mom. She threatened to ruin her too." We arranged to meet at a small cafe. Lily looked nervous, hands trembling around her cup. She handed me an audio file of the MIL laughing about me. She said you were wasting her son's time and that she'd make sure everyone knew it. I listened, jaw clenched. It was more ammunition for my defamation folder. "Why are you helping me?" I asked, touched by her bravery. She sighed. "I saw my mom break down under this woman's lies. I don't want that for you." I thanked her sincerely. In a world where most of his relatives joined the smear campaign, Lily was a rare friend. By the time we parted, I felt lighter. I wasn't alone anymore. I had my mom and now Lily quietly standing with me. Mill wouldn't see this ambush coming. I'd been feeling off, tired, a bit nauseous. Stress, I told myself. But then I missed my period. One morning, I bought a pregnancy test. My hands shook as I waited for the result. 2 pink lines. I was pregnant. Shock and wonder flooded me. So much for being infertile, I thought, a wry smile on my lips. I told my mom first. She hugged me tight, tears in her eyes. "This is your miracle," she whispered. "Don't let them take this joy from you." Part of me felt sad thinking about my fiancé's reaction, but he'd proven his loyalty was with his mother. I decided to keep my pregnancy a secret from him, from all of them, at least until I was ready. If MIL found out, she'd twist it. But inside, I felt strong. Her entire campaign rested on me being barren. This baby was living proof she was a liar. I took a shaky breath. They want to fight? They just lost. My child and I are living truth that crushes their lies. Over the next few weeks, I saw my fiancé just once more. He wanted me to return to the house, but I refused. "You still believe your mother's lies," I said, arms crossed. He rubbed his neck. "She's just worried about me. And well, Camille is stable." My stomach lurched. "Stable?" My eyes burned with tears I refused to shed. He asked, "Is there anything you haven't told me?" For a moment I wanted to reveal my pregnancy, to watch his shock. But I held back. "Nothing you deserve to know," I whispered. I left him standing in the doorway. My mom was waiting in the car, her gaze full of empathy. That night I touched my abdomen, imagining the tiny life inside. I wasn't sure what the future held, except that it wouldn't include lies. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law posted more sly jabs on social media. She wrote about accepting childless people and forgiving their past mistakes. Her followers ate it up. I added screenshots to the folder, silent but sure. One day soon, she'd answer for every piece of defamation she'd spread. With my evidence folder bursting, I visited a lawyer. My mom sat by my side, holding my hand. I explained everything. The false statements, public humiliation, group chat logs, voice recordings, texts about my fake infertility. The lawyer listened, nodding. "This is a solid base for a defamation case. She made explicit false claims that damaged your reputation." I swallowed. "I'm pregnant too, which proves even more that she lied." She smiled kindly. "We can use that as clear proof. If you wish, we can issue a cease and desist or file suit." Mom patted my back. "Whatever it takes to stop this." We decided on a strategy. First, serve my mother-in-law with formal legal notice, demanding a public retraction and an end to her slander. If she refused, we'd sue her for damages. I left the law office feeling strangely empowered. She wanted to tarnish my name. Now she'd pay one way or another. Driving home, I ran my hand over my belly, whispering to my baby, "We'll end her lies, then we'll be free." A fancy envelope arrived in my mom's mailbox, my mother-in-law's 60th birthday invitation. A celebration of family legacy, it read in gold script. I almost laughed. She had no idea she'd soon be facing legal consequences. But I recognized a perfect stage for my reveal and my revenge. I told my lawyer about the party. She grinned. Let her gather all those folks she's lied to. It's the ideal moment to correct the record. Mom looked at me, concern in her eyes. Are you sure you want to walk into that lion's den? I nodded. She's thrown enough dirt on my name. I want to show them the truth, once and for all. We set a date for the legal notice to be delivered, right after her party. There, she'd publicly embarrass herself even further if she kept lying. That night, I placed the invitation on my dresser, next to my ultrasound photo. Two big events loomed, her party and the birth of my baby. I whispered to my reflection, she wanted a showdown, she'll get it. A few days before the party, I bumped into Camille in a parking lot. She seemed thrilled. I heard you're actually coming. Are you sure you can handle it? Her tone was mocking. She probably saw me as a broken woman, alone and childless. I just smiled. Oh, I can handle it, I said calmly. She smirked, fiddling with her car keys. He told me you moved out. Guess that means you're not as strong as you pretend. My temper stirred, but I kept my posture relaxed. Why would I stay with someone who won't stand up for me? She shrugged. He deserves a real partner, someone who can give him a family one day. I hid my secret well. We'll see who ends up with a real family, I said softly, turning away. In my car, I exhaled shakily. These people are blind to their own cruelty. But soon, they'd have no place to hide. I pressed a hand to my slight bump. We'll make them see, I whispered. Then we'll leave them with the mess they made. My mom and I spent the week gathering final documents for the defamation notice. Each screenshot, each audio clip, labeled by date. The folder grew impressively thick. At night, I'd feel my baby flutter, a reminder of the living proof under my skin. I used that strength to push through. My lawyer confirmed we'd serve my mother-in-law the papers first thing the morning after her birthday. If she publicly denies it again at the party, that only builds your case, she said. I nodded. I'll record everything. Meanwhile, my soon-to-be ex left me voicemails, asking me to reconsider living arrangements. I never returned his calls. He'd chosen his mother's lies over my truth. On the day before the party, I stood in front of the mirror, trying on a flowing dress that gently concealed my bump. I wanted to surprise everyone at the exact right moment. I looked at myself, calmer than I'd ever felt. Tomorrow, I'll end this. Then, the legal hammer falls. They'll finally learn what real consequences feel like. The venue was a grand ballroom, glittering chandeliers overhead. A string quartet played softly while guests mingled, sipping champagne. I arrived with my mom, both of us dressed simply but elegantly. My heart pounded. I spotted my mother-in-law in a corner, surrounded by admirers. Camille stood beside her, smirking. Whispers floated through the crowd. She actually came? Doesn't she know they broke up? Poor thing. I kept my shoulders back, a calm smile on my face. My mother patted my hand reassuringly. I'm proud of you, she whispered. Suddenly my fiancé appeared. Why are you here? He asked quietly. I looked him in the eye. It's a family event, right? He hesitated. Mom just wants a nice evening. Don't cause drama. I swallowed a bitter laugh. She invented the drama, I replied, scanning the room. Let's see how nice it stays. He stepped aside, uncertain. I walked past him, my mom following. In the center of the room sat a big stage for speeches. I smiled grimly. That's where I'll finish what she started. Later, the lights dimmed and my mother-in-law stepped onto the stage. Dressed in a glittery gown, she beamed at her guests. Thank you all for celebrating with me. Family is everything, isn't it? She cast a smug look my way. I've learned to accept that sometimes families don't grow as we hope. A few people shifted uncomfortably. Some looked at me with pity. My fiancé stood behind her, forcing a polite smile. Camille hovered nearby, head high. She went on, some women can't give you the gift of grandchildren, but we still must embrace them for who they are, though it can be a challenge. I heard a few murmurs. My mom squeezed my arm. I nodded, stepping forward. My heart hammered, but my voice felt steady. I climbed the steps, facing the microphone. She froze, confusion crossing her face. I exhaled slowly. Time to end this. I'd like to say something, I announced. The audience hushed. My mother-in-law gave a shaky laugh. Of course, dear. Go right ahead. She didn't know what was coming. I smiled, tension building in my chest. I took the mic, scanning the room. My mother gave me a reassuring nod from below. I'm glad we're talking about family, because I have news. My voice echoed in the silent hall. I'm pregnant. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My fiancé's eyes went wide. Camille's jaw dropped. My mother-in-law paled, stumbling back a step. 4 months, I said, patting my belly. Healthy, despite what some people said about me being infertile. A stunned hush settled over the guests. My mother-in-law sputtered. That's impossible. Is it? I asked, raising an eyebrow. You told everyone I was barren. You humiliated me, lied about me, dragged my name through the mud, but you never asked for the truth. I pulled out a folded ultrasound photo from my purse, holding it up. Here's proof. Camera phones flashed. Guests whispered, scandalized. My fiancé tried to say something, but no words formed. I let silence hang before speaking softly. I've carried this child alone while you spread vicious rumors. I turned to my Amiel, and you will answer for that. The room seemed frozen. My mother-in-law gaped, speechless. Camille looked like she wanted to vanish. Finally, Amiel sputtered, You lied to us. I let out a small laugh. No, you lied, repeatedly, to everyone about my body. Now they see you were wrong. Someone in the crowd shouted, But you said she couldn't have kids. Another guest asked, Were you trying to sabotage her? Faces turned toward her, demanding answers. She stammered incoherently. Her perfect image crumbled. I looked at my fiancé. You went along with her lies, or at least never stopped them. Now it's all out. He bowed his head, cheeks flushed. My mother slowly climbed on stage, standing behind me like a pillar of support. The hush broke into a murmur of shock and judgment, aimed at my mother-in-law. I handed the microphone back. I won't stay to hear more lies. I've said my piece. Emile just stood there, openly embarrassed, trapped in the glare of her own guests. I walked off the stage, no regrets. This was the public ruin she had earned. The next morning, I met my lawyer in her sleek office. She held a fresh stack of papers. Ready? She asked, smiling. I nodded. I want to sue her for defamation. She's cost me dignity, caused emotional distress, and spread false claims that nearly harmed my career. My lawyer slid the documents across the desk. We'll serve her today. We'll demand a public apology, or we proceed to court. My mother, seated beside me, gently squeezed my shoulder. I'm proud of you. Filing the paperwork felt surreal. I'd never wanted legal battles, but she'd forced my hand. Her monstrous lies had real consequences. Meanwhile, social media buzzed about the party fiasco. People shared clips of me revealing my pregnancy, capturing her stunned face. She'd humiliated herself in front of all her friends. By afternoon, I got confirmation. The papers had delivered to her house. We'd included a full list of her false statements, plus the evidence folder. A wave of relief washed over me. Finally, she'd face official accountability. No more easy escapes. Within hours, my phone buzzed with messages from family members. Some apologized, others demanded explanations. My fiancé called frantically. She's freaking out, he said. You're suing my mother? I answered coolly. Yes, she lied publicly and harmed me. That's defamation. She's your family, he pleaded. I shook my head. Not anymore. She made me the enemy, and you stood aside. He sputtered. But you're pregnant, I sighed. Exactly. And she destroyed my reputation during that pregnancy. Now she faces the consequences. Camille texted me, begging me not to drag her into legal trouble. I ignored her. She'd colluded in the lies, let her sweat. Reports trickled in that my mother-in-law was panicking, calling relatives for help. But no one wanted to defend her now. She'd gone too far. I sat at my mom's kitchen table, calmer than ever. She tried to break me. Instead, I'd broken her perfect facade. And soon, she'd pay a legal price, too. My fiancé showed up at my mom's doorstep, eyes red. I'm sorry, he blurted. I was weak. I let her control me. I studied his face. Once, I'd have melted at that look. But too much had happened. I'm leaving you, I said quietly. I won't raise my child in this mess. He begged. We can fix this. I'll testify against Mom if needed. I took a deep breath. I needed you to protect me before I had to file a lawsuit. You failed. I can't trust you. He looked broken, tears slipping down his cheeks. But I felt no pity. My mother stepped out, telling him to leave. He stumbled away, grief on his face, but the damage was done. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in ages. My baby and I had a future. free from people who never stood by us. In the morning, I signed the papers indicating I had no ties with my fiancé and his family anymore. My mom mailed them. I felt a weight lift off my chest. I was done defending someone who never defended me. A few months later, I held my newborn son in my arms, the hush of my own apartment wrapped around us. My mom cooked soup in the kitchen, humming a soft tune. Word reached me that my mother-in-law had settled out of court to avoid a public trial. She paid a hefty sum and issued a written apology, retracted her lies, and lost face among her friends. Camille's name was mentioned in the lawsuit, so she distanced herself from the family. My ex, alone and miserable, sent a final text. "I'm so sorry. I hope one day you forgive me." I never replied. Rocking my baby, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. I had walked through fire, but I came out stronger. The false narrative about my body was dead. The truth was in my arms. My mom entered smiling. "You did it," she whispered. I kissed my son's tiny forehead. "We did it," I corrected. Outside, the sun shone brightly. Inside, I was free, a woman who proved you could fight back against deceit and win. That was my revenge, and it tasted like victory.